right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Aspen Chin. I'm a community leader here in Aurora, and I have Gail sitting with me and Pepper as well, one of the Chief Fire finalists. So, Miss Gail, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Gail Pugh. I've lived in Aurora for 22 years and just been an active community member here. So it's a pleasure to be here with you both.
Likewise.
And what about you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Pepper?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Indianapolis, but I moved to Montana when I was 21 years old. I've been there for about 28 years now in Billings, and I've been with the Billings Fire Department for about 24 years. And I've promoted through all the ranks. I've been a fire chief now since 21, and during that time was able to obtain a bachelor's degree in accounting, and then my master's degree, and then my CFO as well. The fire department is a true passion of mine. And the reason why I say that is it's not just to serve the community, but it's also to serve the people that serve the people. And that's where I get my greatest sense of fulfillment from.
I love that. Okay, well, that definitely ties into our first question. So, what is your plan to promote and progress Aurora Fire in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And what would be some of your best practices?
Absolutely. So I grew up, like I said, in a major city, and then when I moved to Montana, I came to a department that was about 99.9% white male. But I never felt uncomfortable at any time. I always felt included, and they allowed me to grow both personally and professionally. And because of that, I truly feel that that's why I am where I am. And so I would like to do the same for others. There's an issue across the country where a lot of demographics don't know what the fire service does and why we do what we do and how to get involved. And so what I like to do is try to get into middle schools, high schools, community colleges, neighborhood task force, you name it, and try to educate on what it is that we do to try to get some of those recruits.
Okay.
Okay, Chief Valdez. Aurora Fire Rescue currently remains in care and rides into the hospital on all ALS calls, while FOC, the ambulance provider, has paramedics on board their ambulances. Will you change this policy in order to keep our city's apparatus and crews in district ready to respond to other fire/EMS calls?
That's a great question. Obviously, if I were to get this position, it would take some time to understand what Aurora's traditions, historical perspective, operations, and the vision of this city and the fire department, where they want to go before we start making changes. But understanding that situation, I think there is a much more efficient way to do things. And by not pulling staff off of those units and keeping them in service is a much more efficient way of doing things. So that's a great question. I think I would absolutely take a good long look at that.
Yes. Okay, and what would you say would be some of your biggest accomplishments in your past departments?
Great question again. One that's kind of intangible, if you will. During my tenure at the Billings Fire Department, we've had a pretty strained labor management relationship. And I'm proud to be a part of an administration that got that culture turned around to one that's very collaborative, to the point where traded personal cell phone numbers with the union president, and we work through issues before they get elevated or escalated, I should say. So very proud of that. On the tangible side of things, I've also been a part of two successful safety mill levies. And that has allowed us to implement some new programs within our community to help us be more efficient. We're working on some mutual aid agreement. We do have a mutual aid agreement with the state of Montana for our wildland program that we're able to put together. And we are going to be working on a mutual aid agreement with our Montana Army National Guard to help us with a rescue task force here soon. So pretty excited about some of those things.
Cool. And on the opposite end, what was your biggest failure in your current department?
Biggest failure, learned a hard lesson as a chief. I was a brand new chief, was tasked with doing a presentation on asking for the second mill levy, and that was quite a big ask on our part. I assumed that we were going to get a certain level of strategic progression, and went to the fire stations and got the crews excited about it, and got to the presentation, and my higher ups decided we were going a different direction about 5 minutes before I was supposed to do the presentation. Crushed our troops, and I had to go back out and apologize. So that was a pretty hard lesson for me to learn, not to get people excited until the ink is dried.
Yes.
Yes. Well, to touch on that note, staffing. So staffing issues appear to be an issue across the country. What are your plans to fix issues in the department, and did you implement these plans in your last department?
So yeah, you are seeing, you're correct. You're seeing numbers go down across the country for various reasons. We all like to blame COVID for everything. Big part of it. So having said that, I think again, not just being a diversity issue. I think it's an issue in general where a lot of people don't truly understand the fire service and what it is that we do. They understand the service part of it, but how do they get into it? And what is causing that attrition? You have your recruitment and then you have your retention. So what's causing retention problems? Kind of answering, giving you two different responses for the same. And mental health and well-being is a big part of that. Morale. We're starting to see a lot of that. There's always been this machismo within our service that we have to kind of break that barrier down and make sure that people understand that you can reach out and have conversations if you're having issues. On the recruitment side of things, it's all about education. It's just about getting out there, making sure people understand, hey, there's other options out there. Take a look at this vocation and see what you think about it.
Visibility and accessibility are important in being a leader. Do you feel like you were visible and accessible to your firefighters and community in your current department?
Absolutely. That is the cornerstone of what a fire chief does. You have to make sure that the body is good, that the troops are good. And the only way to do that is to make sure you are accessible. Every day at work, on our morning briefings, I remind everyone, I'm here. Got a question? Give me a call, email, text, doesn't matter. Just give me a call. Some people don't want to talk in front of the group, so they like to do the one-on-ones. So I try to make sure I'm accessible. Also, we do a lot of community engagement. And so we get out and we make sure we talk to task force and different civil groups, or civic groups, sorry. And so, yeah, again, it's about transparency, trying to be good stewards with the people's money, hard-earned dollars, and making sure that they know we're here, this is what we're doing with it. So, yeah, that's absolutely important that you maintain that accessibility and visibility.
Now, if you were hired here, how will you go about connecting with our Aurora community?
Oh, yeah, same thing. Making sure we get out there and doesn't matter. Churches, schools, hospitals, like I said, different types of civic groups, task force out there. We want to be out there. We are part of the community, and the community needs to make sure or be reassured we're there for them and doing the best we can with what they can afford us.
Yeah, so that also ties into this question. The emergency management field is evolving rapidly, and with the increase in both natural and human caused threats throughout the United States and around the world overall, there is a greater need for emergency managers to come together to solve this complex problem. So, how would you define emergency management, and how can it be a successful program in the city of Aurora?
So emergency management covers a wide swath. It is so vital to every single community. Should be tops in priority. You're starting to see what we call low frequency, high risk type of incidences happen more frequently, unfortunately. Don't know what to point the finger to, but we're starting to see the weird, bizarre calls happen more often. Like you said, both man-made and natural, weather patterns changing, whatever. So with that being said, I think a priority should be put on the emergency management side of the house. I need to take a good look at Aurora system to see how it works here. But your preparation and then the fire department's piece to that is response. So we're 1 in 5 of the 5 different categories. But preparation is the key. And so I would want to make sure that not just the fire department, but all the stakeholders understood to the best of our abilities, because you can never, write a playbook on exactly how things are supposed to go, but try to be as prepared as possible. So that's a high priority, without a question.
Pepe, in the last several years, here at City of Aurora, the police department and the firefighters, so the officers and the firefighters, not necessarily the administration, there have been some strain. The relationships have been strained. What would you do to improve those relationships?
Oh, it's a great question. In Billings, we experience that as well. It's nothing unique. It happens. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to serve the community. We're all trying to protect the community. We're here to provide a quality of life for our people, right? So I think it starts at the top. Reaching across the table to our brothers and sisters in blue, and reaching out to the police chief, and start to begin those talks. It's almost like a house that's divided. Even a perception that there's division at the top will create problems throughout an organization, or can even topple organizations. So I think show us solidarity, starting at the top and working our way down. In Billings, we have an annual softball game that we do between the cops and firefighters. I hate to say it, but the cops have beaten us twice in a row. I'm not too happy about that. We're actively recruiting athletes out there to help us overtake it. But no, but on a serious note, I go golf with the police chief, and the troops see that and understand that we're all there doing the same thing. So.
Really building that team environment, team culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So definitely tell me your philosophy on, changing the landscape of emergency medical services and what emerging trends would benefit our community, and how we can leverage our existing public and private partnerships in doing so.
Okay. So, and again, from the outside looking in, I'm seeing engines that are running 6,000 plus calls a year. You just can't continue to do that. It's too expensive. The wear and tear, maintenance costs, fuel consumption, and not to mention, quite frankly, wearing the personnel out running that hard. I believe that you can augment the system by allowing the fire department to get more involved in the EMS. What that looks like, I don't know yet, but just shooting from the hip, transport to help augment the private partner as well. So just to take some of the pressure off the engine response, and again, going back to an earlier question, keeping them at a higher state of readiness. So,
Nice. So, I come from a fire inspection background.
Yes.
And so I wanted to know, what were your thoughts around fire inspection programs and ensuring that it's a successful program?
So this is one of the most undereducated, underinformed parts of what the fire service does. Prevention is a huge and critical and vital piece for the community. It has proven itself over and over again, preventing juvenile fire sets and injuries, and as well as adults. Business inspections, compliance issues, plans reviews on how you develop communities are all majorly important, and it all comes from the prevention division. So so vital. Community risk reduction is another big one. So a lot of people, they don't know what the fire department does, and they really don't understand there's all these things that happen within the fire department as well, and prevention is a big deal.
Well, thank you for acknowledging the inspection section.
Of course, of course.
And yes, I mean, those are all of the questions that the community have for us, and that will wrap it up. So thank you again for joining us here and answering all of them so delightfully. And Gail, thank you for
welcome.
giving great questions. And thank you again, community, for giving these questions. And definitely stay tuned, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.